I've been talking about inheritance tax, which is, I think, an unfair tax. At the right time, I hope the Prime Minister and the Chancellor will look at it. At the moment, they are right to say that the best tax cut we can give your viewers, give the nation, is to halve inflation.
On tax cuts, I think that most people at this conference would agree that they would like to see lower taxes. It's a Conservative conference. But the debate is around when they should happen. Do you want to see tax cuts before the next election?
Well, I think when the Chancellor has the headroom, he should absolutely begin to look at things like inheritance tax. I'd be making that argument. It's an unfair tax. It's a death tax. People, as Conservatives, we believe that if you've worked hard and you've paid your taxes, you should be able to leave assets to whoever you feel you want to.
Do you want to have? I just want to press you a little bit again. Do you want that to happen before the next election? Because if you say it's going to happen afterwards, then I mean, you might not be in power then. Can't do anything about it.
I've been Chancellor of the Exchequer, and it would be completely wrong of me to try and put a date on when the Chancellor will have the ability to cut taxes, because he needs the headroom. And at the moment, there are some headwinds. I don't need to tell you that you look at where oil prices today, and of course we're seeing good numbers on inflation coming down, but there are still headwinds. We've still got war on our continent, and so it would be unwise, certainly of an ex-chancellor, to start to be a sort of backseat driver or
well, enough of them around this conference.
And a couch analyst for the current chancellor. He will know when it's right. What we should be doing is putting forward these ideas versus Labour, which is at the moment a policy-free zone. We are the ones here that are generating the ideas on how to be on the side of people who are hard-pressed.
I want to get your thoughts on high-speed rail, because we're expecting Rishi Sunak to announce that the second leg of HS2 between Birmingham and Manchester is not going to go ahead. What's your view on that?
Well, it's worth waiting for the detail.
Sure.
The thing to remember is that we have invested 33 billion in rail in the north of England. That's an important investment. It's important to remember also that actually the world has changed since the pandemic hit us, and the working habits of people have changed. So it's right to re-examine a project that is so large. And the speculation is that the cost of HS2 in totality might be up to 180 billion. So it's right. I think it's wise. One of the great things that I think differentiates Rishi Sunak is that he is evidence-led. You look at what he did on the announcement on net zero and making sure that we are honest, we are evidence-led, pragmatic, and are on the side of hard-pressed taxpayers, whilst at the same time saying we can meet our 2050 target, but we're going to meet it in a way that is about delivery. He thinks like an engineer, and that's a good thing.
I want to talk to you about the other sort of big ticket event today, which was the speech of the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman. In the speech, she warned of a hurricane of mass migration. She's previously spoken of swarms of people coming to the UK. Do you think that language is inflammatory?
Well, the first thing to say is I think we do live in a country where a boy from Baghdad can become Second Lord of the Treasury, Chancellor of the Exchequer of this great country. So we should be proud of our track record as Conservatives, because pretty much the bulk of the past 100 years we have been the party of government, and much of the reforms, including on migration, were delivered by an equality, it's delivered by Conservative Prime Ministers. So there's a lot to be proud of. Where I think Suella's right is the world has changed post-Second World War. What do I mean by that? The ability of people to move in big numbers, right, is very different to what it was in 1945.
I mean, I think the analysis, lots of people in your party would agree with, but I guess my point is about the language. Hurricanes, swarms, is that inflammatory?
But what will happen?
You wouldn't use that language, would you?
Well, what language is there to describe that we're going to move from a period of time where only thousands of people actually moved, migrated, to tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people that are moving? It is the elephant in the room. By the way, not just for the United Kingdom. When I talk to prime ministers and world leaders in Europe, across the world, it is the challenge of the next decade and beyond, is how do we come together and begin to deal with mass movement of humanity for political stability. We're seeing what's happening in Sudan and in Libya and elsewhere in the world. It is only responsible. I think she's acting responsibly by saying, look, this is a real issue. We have to deal with it. We can't just keep pretending. Why is it that we can review every other piece of legislation in our own country and try and modernize it and bring it up to date, right? But we can't deal with issues that were dealt with very differently in 1945 than today.
I mean, it's interesting. She also said the Human Rights Act should be renamed the Criminal Rights Act. It's not the government line, is it?
Well, except right? And there's plenty of evidence to suggest that there are lawyers, and some behave very badly. There was an expose a few weeks ago of lawyers exploiting both the act itself, but also exploiting very vulnerable people, making them pay money to find them loopholes in the act. And again, the Home Secretary highlighting this is the right thing. We have to talk about these things. These are the elephant in the room. In a country where we can be very proud of our multiculturalism, we can be very proud of, look at the cabinet.
She says it's failed. She says multiculturalism failed.
Look at the cabinet.
Do you disagree?
Right? I think, look at the cabinet, right? Suella Braverman, Kemi Badenoch, James Cleverly. Look at the faces around that table, right? That is modern Britain. Rishi Sunak, right? That is modern. That is something to be proud of. The whole world. And I've been, talking to many people around the world. I think, we are the envy of the world in how we have been able to do good policy formulation on migration issues. But this is a challenge. And she's right to say we've got to face up to it and deal with it.
Potential leader?
We have a prime minister. I will make this prediction for you, that he will win the next election, because Keir Starmer, all the polling, I was an ex-pollster, you remember.
Yeah,
right?
I do remember.
All the polling, all the focus groups, they cannot name a single policy that is attractive in Keir Starmer.
But the polling groups also show Labour's got a very consistent lead.
Because we've had our difficulties the past 12 months. You know that.
Now, you, of course, were sacked after failing to disclose to HMRC that your tax affairs were being investigated. Do you think that your front bench political career is over?
So, it wasn't failing to disclose to HMRC. I've dealt with HMRC. I've paid my taxes in full to HMRC, and I'm proud of paying very big numbers in taxation. I'm enjoying my time as the Member of Parliament for Stratford-on-Avon, working for my constituents.
Ambitions to rejoin the front bench?
I'm patron of the Adam Smith Institute, making those big arguments for getting rid of the death tax, of inheritance tax. It's a great time to be a Conservative MP.